Hello there. My name is Lacey. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I don't know why I'm so nervous right now. I've actually already had another YouTube channel, but this is my first YouTube video on this channel. And I was honestly laying in my bed, literally over there, and thought to myself, you keep having this ideal to make a YouTube, just freaking do it already, you know? Like, an ideal comes to your mind so many times before it just like poofs away or you lose it. So I decided to fight every fear inside of me, turn on my camera, turn on the microphone, and just do it. I don't really know where this is going to go. I kind of have ideals. I've had thoughts and ideals for a very long time. There's lots of thoughts in this noggin. But I think this initial video is me getting past the ideal of people perceiving me and people seeing me and people listening to me and what that means, because not everyone likes the topic that I'm going to discuss, but it is something important to me. It is something that I think a lot of people would relate to. Yeah, so here goes. Don't even know how to start this. Okay, let's start with a little bit about me. Well, first off, I like sharks, as you can tell. That's not even what this is about, though. I'm sure that'll be sprinkled in here and there. But something that was calling to me was my interest and my love of the law of attraction, uh, spirituality stuff, woo-woo stuff, all of that jazz, and really how I got into it and what it means to me, and maybe different things I do, different aspects about it that I love, or maybe I've tried and I didn't like so much, but in a very laid back way of it does not matter how others perceive me, you know? So it was actually very important to me to just get up and do it, you know, even if I'm wearing my pajamas and maybe it's not as perfect as my OCD brain would like. But here goes. So let me start. I always knew I was a little odd, weird. Guys would tell me when I was dating them that I was a little out there. But I never really like. I don't know if you can hear my dog or not. I I was always just myself, you know. And when I grew up, I grew up super religious, like super religious. And I'll probably get into that more in a different video, my growing up. Um, but when I was growing up, I was super religious. My family was, and my parents were super strict. And I was always someone who like followed rules, like to a T. Like my parents would joke about it when I grew up, and when I graduated high school and moved into college, it was like a 360, you know? It took about a year before I was really naughty or whatever. But about a year in, I had been dating a guy in high school for a long time, and about a year in college, I like broke up with him. I realized, oh crap, we're gonna get married if we stay together. So I broke up with him, and then I was at a party. This was around the time I broke up with him, and I tried like alcohol and weed for the first time, and woo wee, did I love it, you know? And it became like a thing for me for a long time. Um, and I really struggled with the alcohol for a long time, but I didn't at the same time. Like, I didn't realize I had a problem. Um, Long story short, 8 years, 9 years go by, and I'm just gonna get to where like all of this started, the law of attraction stuff. Um, I'm sitting in my apartment in California, where I lived at the time. That is not where I'm from, by the way. Where I lived at the time, and I I don't remember actually how the manifesting and positive stuff came in. I think a friend at the time joked that I was always very spiritual, which I didn't see that about myself. Like, I didn't notice that things I would say would come true to fruition. I always knew that if my mind was set to something, I could have it. Like, if I really truly believed I could have it, oh, it was mine, you know? But I never knew what that meant. I just thought that I was a hard worker and that I was getting like rewarded for that hard work, you know? And I never really thought about that until my friend said that. And I remember we were like taking shots, joking about manifesting, literally, like, and it was like a joke. But I don't know, like, what if I there was a book I read. I actually do not remember because I was so out of it all the time that I do not remember anything other than I might get emotional thinking about this because this has really been hitting me lately. Sitting in my apartment, not having enough month to month for rent, like literally would every month they were giving me the 3 days notice and it was terrifying. And I remember the 369 method, where you write down in the morning 3 times what your goal is, 6 times in the afternoon, 9 times at night. And I remember writing down, at least before bed, 5 things I was grateful for. And then before I would write like a negative statement I felt about myself, and then I would scratch it out and change it to a positive. And I remember being belligerent drunk. Is that the word, I guess? Very, very drunk. Probably slurring my words, but I would still write that down. I would write, I attract love, success, and happiness in my life right now. And, 369. And I remember imagining everything that I wanted, a home that would, my rent would be paid, or, like I would have enough for rent every month. I would have enough to pay my water or my electric or my Wi Fi. That me and my animals would be in a safe, secure environment. But at the same time, I had so many negative thoughts in my head like, oh my God, but everyone will have to find out how much of a hot mess you are. Little did I know that that actually is a big part of it because, like, they did have to find that out. I couldn't deny that anymore, but I wrote that down, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, I get a knock on my door. And it just like looks like a normal alternative person like me. And they got me, I knock on the door, I open it, and they're like, but so and so, and I'm like, yeah, and they're like, you're being served, and it was papers from my apartment complex, saying you gotta go. Like basically, it was like 4 papers, but I ended up working out with them where I didn't have to go to the court. I just had to get out of the house, and I said I would pay the balance due in a certain amount of time. And I get those papers, and instantly I call a friend at the time and I'm like, can you help? She was great. She saw what she was doing, flew to me and helped me move out of that house. And my like other friend who is now my roommate, they I call them and they're more like logical, businessy, serious, and they were not happy. but both of them were there for me. I had to really like put on the. I had to rip it all off, rip off the band aid and explain how bad things had gotten. Um, And which is hard for me because I'm actually diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. So that was not easy for me to do. Like my biggest form of OCD is perfectionism, and I didn't want others to hate me. I thought that because I had these issues, they would hate me. Um, but yeah, that's that's a different story as well. The OCD. So cleaning up the apartment, cleaning up the house, and I decide to, like, okay. So basically, I had three options: move in with my logical, businessy, serious friend, because they were actually moving for work at the same time that I was living in a hotel at this point with all of my belongings that I had. My animals were all boarded up. So I had that option. I had the option of staying with the friend that was helping me move, who I wouldn't have had to change anything I was doing if I lived with that friend. And then my family. And I, just like the other friend, I would have not had to have changed anything about myself, like I would have been very like okay with being who I was. But the more businessy, logical, serious friend, I would have had to make changes, especially since they were moving to Florida for work. So it was a place I had never lived in before. Um, blah blah blah. So I chose that situation. My stomach just got. And I remember I told myself I was not going to drink really unless it was in social settings, all of that, because that is what really got me to my thing. A few different issues got me to my cycle I was in that was leading to where I would end up paying the rent, but I would not ever have enough money for the rent, blah, blah, blah. And in that cycle was I had PMDD, OCD, and just like picking up the pieces that those things would not like cause, but that were like building up because of those things. And it was just like this cycle every month of me doing this. But it would always end up working out until it didn't. But it actually worked out any better because that girl that was sitting in that apartment, sad, blah, 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 she would have known that, like, what ended up happened. Oh my goodness. Like, I think about that, I'm like, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. So, I moved to Florida. Well, let me actually say this. Before I started living in the hotel, I ended up punching a wall. I was a little frustrated, angry, blah, blah, blah. I punched a wall maybe 50 times, like, not even joking. And I remember the friend at the time said, you should try kickboxing, MMA, something that will get your anger out. I ended up, I think my computer's dying. My computer was dying, but I'm back. So I ended up, shit, or crap, I guess. I lost my train of thought, but okay. Yeah, so I ended up punching the wall. So when I moved to Florida, I knew I needed to like try something out of that regard. I also was like a very heavy pot smoker. And when I moved to Florida, I didn't really have it at first. So I was kind of like not drinking the alcohol anymore because I didn't even get to that. Here's the thing. I'm actually 100% sober now, and this is just how my brain works. So, welcome to my channel. But, so basically, let's scratch that. I punched the wall. Da 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 da. I knew I needed to slow down on the drinking. Um, I knew I wanted to do something like kickboxing, MMA, blah 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 when I moved to Florida. 4th of July came. It was about a week before I was moving. I had this like uncomfortable conversation I needed to have with another friend that lived in California, and I remember drinking way too many shots before I went out to the bar with them. Like, way too many shots. And I ended up not remembering. I kind of remember getting to the bar, but I mostly remember waking up at the friend's house that I live with now, throwing up, like getting sick. And I remember waking up the next morning and I looked at my friend and I said, it was very clear to me. It was like an instantaneous feeling. Like I knew that it was something I was never going to do again. Like I might have said like I don't know if it's forever, but everything in me knew it was forever. Like I was finally done, which was just insane that like me getting drunk made me wake up and realize I don't want to do this anymore. Like I had been drinking bottles, like some days I drank full bottles. And waking up and realizing I didn't want to do it anymore. And honestly, the only time I ever like think about doing it, it's not actually thinking about doing it. It's like when other people are like worried that I will ever do it again, you know? But I realized I never wanted to do it again. But I still like smoked to this point. So when I moved to Florida, I didn't really like have weed or anything. Um, I kind of just like I had a little bit, may or may not have had a little bit of it. I don't know how I got there. But basically, I like got was kind of weaning off of it until I got my medical card there, and I remember I was like more diving into the spirituality. Like I was reading books and I watched the movie. It's not The Secret, like the documentary or the book, but it's like a lovey-dovey romance movie, The Secret. It's so it's more like a story to show how law of attraction works. And if you haven't watched it, it's actually very cute. It is very corny and cringy, but hear me out. It's actually cute. Um, but I was like, I watched that and I was reading all these books, and it really started clicking in my mind. Now here is where the one of the first times I used my power for good, and really okay. So I am an online streamer. I wasn't really thinking I was going to talk about this much. It does play a big role in some of the things that I will talk about. So I think I'll just mention that I'm an online streamer. I will never link the site, so do not worry or do not ask. But I'm an online streamer, and that plays a big role in how I ended up manifesting a few things because some of the people that I knew were the ones sending it. But basically, it was around the time when you're like my U-Haul was showing up, but I did not have the money because I just moved across the country, literally 2,000 miles. I had just moved out of that apartment. I didn't have anything really. Like I had everything provided for me at that point. Like I was in a very everything that little old me was writing down and manifesting and imagining came true. Okay? Like everything at that point. But like I didn't really have the money, you know? And I didn't know how I was going to get that U-Haul. So every night before I would go to bed, I would use, I think it's Neville Goddard's, one of his techniques where you imagine the thing coming true. So every night before I go to bed or anytime I would doubt that U-Haul, I was going to get my stuff, I would just like imagine my stuffed animals that I have, like even this one right here. I would imagine me like hugging it and just being so excited that I got all my stuff. Like, didn't care how I was gonna get it, okay? That was not in my mind. I was like, just, I have all my stuff. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. And 6 hour. I think it was like 6 hours before the due date because it was like you had to pay it by midnight or something because they were coming the next morning. I go on my phone and not even joking, you guys. Like, I had two Venmos. Okay, one was for $500 from a random person that I hadn't talked to in probably 3 or 4 months. Like, I didn't even have their number anymore. Blah blah blah. I didn't even mention it to them. And then another person sent me like $50. That was like a supporter that actually I didn't post on my like stuff that I needed help by any means. I never mentioned the U-Haul to anyone, not even my roommate. I never said that I didn't have enough to anyone. um, and I remember I got the exact amount I needed in 1 minute. Like both of them sent it, and then I had the other 50. So I had the full $600 that I needed to pay for my U-Haul, and it came from like nowhere. Like, I mean, did it come from nowhere? But like in my mind, I realized what I did. Like, oh my god, like I think I had done law of attraction stuff before that really like like I noticed that it was something I wanted and I got it. But that was one of the first things that I was like, oh my God. And it was because I lived in the end feeling. And that was one of the biggest first things I realized. Like, that I truly could have what I wanted. That I had to just believe it. Like, despite anything in my existence telling me otherwise, I had to still believe in the end goal and still have faith and hope and whatever. And I think that's why, and that was a few years ago, so I have a lot more stuff to tell you guys. But I think that is why I am having this call to share what I'm sharing. And then I think that every time I film something, it should be just what comes out of my mouth. That makes sense? Like, because I know deep down inside. You know what I mean? Like, even on the days when I don't believe in myself or I'm whatever, I've come to this conclusion lately that the girl I was sitting in that apartment in California, 99% of her did not believe in herself. She literally was living on Delulu. 1% of me did. Now, oh my God, I believe in myself 99%. The 1% is just the normal human self-doubt, the ego inside of you that's trying to bring you down and drag you down. And I feel as though maybe everything I've said is like scatterbrained and doesn't make sense, but I feel like it would. It shows that this is like raw, like this is real, like this is my story. And I feel like I needed to mention everything that led up, even though I didn't mention like everything that made me who I was, but like what made me change, like what made me realize the change, like that I needed, that I wanted, that the person inside of me always wanted. Because like even if nothing I'm saying makes sense, it doesn't matter, because someone out there might relate to it and realize they don't want to feel that way either, that and that they shouldn't have to, that they are amazing, that they have this power within them that they too can have. You know what I mean? Like, every one of us has it. We're not special in that way. Like, I'm not more special than someone else because I've figured it out. Trust me, some days I forget, some minutes I forget, and I have to remind myself. And that just happens. That's called being a human. That's called going up and down on the vibrational scale of frequencies, blah blah blah, all that woo woo stuff. That is a normal part of being a human. That is what everything's about, honestly. Because, like, truly, I believe, if you want to know exactly my belief here, I believe that we are all connected to whatever created us. As in, me, you, everyone in between is connected. Like, we are all one. We are all the universe. We are these powerful beings that were sent to earth as human beings to live the human experience, to figure out what it's like. And sometimes that's hard because you're like, dang, I don't want this anxiety. I don't want this sadness sometimes. I don't want these things to happen. But like something that really clicked to me, and I really wish I could, and this isn't an exact quote or anything, but like it was something about like, if you were this all knowing being, this like powerful, great being, and you were told that you were going to go to Earth, would you only want to feel happiness? No. You probably would want to feel all of these different emotions that come with being human. Like, and when you think about it that way, it's like, oh, wow, like, that's just part of being a human. Like, that happens. And, like, yes, trust me, I feel like another reason why I need to share my thoughts, my story, is because like I do have OCD. I do have some other disorders too that when I okay, when I look at some people that may have not stayed around when I changed my life, I want to make them, but I know it shouldn't matter, but like I do have a little demon on my shoulder. Sometimes I like to say it's that telling me everything I do is wrong. Even this video, it's when I'm doubting myself and I'm like, maybe it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't think that's really me. I think it's that little voice in my head that's like, shut up. No one wants to hear it. And I think that needs to be said. I think it needs to be brought to people's attention that the people that believe in themselves or they live the manifesting life or the law of attraction or positivity, they have those self doubts and that little voice in their head just like you know? Like, it is a choice. And I think that if it was said in that way more, people would look at it different, you know? Like, some of the days that I have manifested crazy stuff, like thousands of dollars, I was also like spiraling at one point of the day, fighting every little voice in my head, but people don't see that. They just see, wow, Lacey manifested this thing. How did she do it? And you're like, I chose it. I chose to believe that I get what I want. Some days that's not easy, especially when you have OCD or any other thing, or just you're human and you have negative thoughts. Every human has negative thoughts. Like, that's just a part of being a human being. And, I think something that recently that helped me with that is thinking of that little voice in our head as the ego. It you're your true self, and then the ego. It's saying right now, it's like, Lacey, you need to stop talking about all of these things. Oh my goodness. How are you going to handle being perceived? What if people don't like it? What if people don't want to watch? What if people don't want to ever? And you're like, but I want to do it. And trust me, that is not always easy. As most humans know, it is not always easy to say, well, I decided it, so I want to do it. Because like that is why I felt as though I just needed to turn the camera on and whatever came out of my mouth came out of my mouth, because it it's gonna stop. The more I fight back, or not fight back, but like the more I decide that I'm going to believe in no, the more I decide that I'm going to push through the fear and choose love, good things are going to happen. And something I saw yesterday was, if you have an idea in your mind, just do it. because like even if it's not perfect, you might just need to get on the frequency of that thing. Like me just posting a video to YouTube might put me on that frequency of I'm gonna have more ideas come to me. I finally did it. You know what I mean? Instead of like I didn't do it at all. Like, what is that helping anything? That's literally not gonna do anything for me either way. It's not gonna be a positive or negative. It's literally nothing towards me. If anything, it's me not listening to the good voice inside my head. Like, this isn't the first time I've done a YouTube. Like, I had a YouTube before, and it was like me trying like food and stuff, and that's a whole nother story. I will probably have videos of me trying like gluten-free stuff or other things, but like I've done this before. And sometimes when I watch YouTube videos, it's literally of people just like I like later on I look at it, I'm like, what was I watching? Like, what were they talking? I don't even I'm not even interested in this kind of thing, but I was watching and I was intrigued because of them as a person. Like, so I think that's what like was important to me right now is putting myself out there and saying it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. I'm doing it, and I kind of just wanted to give like a. That was not even my full story, you know. That was like a 1% of what even led me to doing what I did. But I felt as though it was important to say, and I think that someone out there will listen, and I hope whatever I end up posting on this YouTube, if if one person or a million people see it, or millions of people see it, I hope that it speaks to you in one way or another. Like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Thank you.